This podcast, and actually my business, wouldn't be as pretty if it weren't for our friends from MusicBed. Find the perfect song for your films with a highly curated roster featuring hundreds of artists, bands, and composers. As a Wedding Bossness listener, you could get your first month of subscription free or 20% off of a single song purchase. Just enter the promo code Wedding Bossness when you check out, or just click on the link in the show notes. Are you trying to figure out how you can market or stay relevant during this pandemic? Aleya Harris is here, and we are talking about websites that convert even during a crisis. Welcome to the Wedding Bossness podcast. I'm your host, Paul Santiago. If this is your first time listening, you should consider subscribing because this is the podcast for you, especially if you're focused on creating an effective system for your wedding business more than the aesthetics and design part. I mean, yeah, it's definitely part of it, but what's the point if the follows and the likes don't turn into dollar signs, right? I'm just obsessed with the process, and just like you, I want to learn from the source. The people that the best in the industry learn from. That is the quality of the guests you'll meet here. Mohammed Saad said, "A successful website does three things. It attracts the right kind of visitors, guides them to the main services or product you offer, and collects contact details for future ongoing relation." Those are the keys. So the interview with Aleya Harris is coming right up after the intro. This is the Wedding Bossness podcast. Aleya Harris is the founder and owner of Flourish Marketing, an agency dedicated to helping wedding, catering, and event professionals reach their full potential through fresh, cutting-edge marketing strategies that get and keep a consistent stream of clients. She is a firm believer that the business owners should make good money doing what they love, and she spreads this message through her role as a thought leader in the industry. Aleya has made it her personal mission to support catering and event businesses in their growth and help them to reach their definition of success. Her decade-plus long career as a chef and catering company owner, paired with her wealth of expertise in marketing, are matched with a remarkable work ethic, providing her clients with an engaging and interactive experience that inspires them to take action. As a professional speaker, she fosters valuable discussion about actionable marketing strategies, and profit-driven storytelling is an effort to inspire her audience to take charge of their business's financial futures. Her in-depth knowledge about social media marketing, branding, sales conversion, and effective marketing tools have earned her spots and top ranks on stages across the nation. Man. Including the special event and cater source. She also serves as the marketing committee chair for NACE National and is a Story Brand certified guide. I can't wait for you to hear this interview. Ladies and gentlemen, Aleya Harris. Hey Aleya, thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
So I read your bio and I looked you up, and
you did a little stalking? That's cool.
I did a little stalking. Not social media, more of like professional stalking.
Okay.
And with the list of your accomplishments, I feel like we could talk about more than just websites. But let's stick to the websites. Because
okay. We'll see how the conversation takes us.
So before we start, I usually love to ask this to my guests. Tell us something about yourself that people would probably be surprised to know about.
Surprised to know about? Well, I don't think that most people know that I speak Spanish fluently. I don't know. I just speak it. I don't really share. And I love it. I grew up speaking Spanish and English, and it's always kind of cool, especially when people think that they can talk about you without you knowing.
I've heard stories about that where, most of the Spanish speakers that I've talked to, they look like super white, and they hear Spanish people talking, and then they butt in, especially when they're talking about them, and it's so funny, like the reaction of people.
Yeah, it is.
So I always love to hear about origin stories, and I would love to know what your origin story is and what got you into the industry and what you're up to right now.
Awesome. Whenever I hear the words origin story, I always think of superhero, but I don't think I've quite gotten to that level yet. I don't have the ability to move things with my brain yet. Working on it. So I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I went to the University of Southern California here in California, and I was business. I was hard into it. I was going to be in business management, and I got out into the world, and I started in the fashion industry, and I'm like, wait a minute, I actually don't like this at all. And I said, okay, well, maybe cosmetics. Oh, no, still not for me. And it was when I got laid off in the cosmetic industry that I said, okay, I got to figure out what I actually like to do. Because when you work from the center of who you are and that joyful place, that's when abundance and success really follows you, right? So one of my sorority sisters, I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. One of my sorority sisters was over at my house, and she was eating my food, and she says, you should go to culinary school. I eat here all the time. It's my favorite restaurant. Your apartment is my favorite restaurant. You should go and figure out what to do with that. And I said, you're absolutely right. So I went to culinary school. I graduated top of my class from the Cordon Bleu. And while I was there, I had the best piece of advice I've ever received. And it was a grumpy chef instructor who said, you're good and all, but you're going to still have to work like 10 years in a restaurant at minimum wage before you're ever really able to do anything with yourself. And I'm like, excuse me? You must not know me, nor we've never met. And I took that piece of advice, because I like to use everything for my learning and upliftment, to go, okay, well, if I don't want that to be my story, what am I going to do? So while I was in culinary school, I started a catering company, and I also started a private chef business. And I worked with a variety of clients. And as soon as I graduated, my first full-time client was Stevie Wonder. And I traveled the world with him and cooked and had a great time. And I always think about that chef instructor, because I'm like, well, this is not in a restaurant working 14 hours at a minimum wage now, is it? And I took that success and I kind of rolled forward with it, with the key lesson in that for me being, when you follow what you know to be true about yourself, then you're able to turn that into something that benefits you and the world, because I truly see food as a way to convey culture and love to other people. So I did that for a little while, did the private chef thing, and then I said, okay, well, what else? I have this other degree. What can I do with it? And then I started working at Google's food program as a vendor, working for a large corporate food service company named Guggenheimer. And I loved it. I felt like being on that team and helping to develop Google's internal food branding was like changing the world, right? Through food, one person at a time. And I went from there, and I rose up to be the head of marketing for North America. And then I sat there at that level, and you're not really that much involved with food anymore, right? When you're in that kind of executive place, you're thinking about so many other things, and I had gotten away from what really made me passionate and what really made me joyful, which is where all of my success had come from in the first place. And when I had that realization, I said, okay, let's figure this out. So I started the company that I own now, which is Flourish Marketing, which helps people in the wedding, catering, and event space get and keep a consistent stream of clients. So now I get to stay within my passion. I get to talk to people in that space who are constantly helping other people celebrate the biggest moments of their lives. And I love it. I'm back in that center of my talent. I mushed all of my experience together, and then I get to bring it out to the world. So I think that is my origin story, at least for now.
It's crazy, the chef I remember the chef, you said, like, he said you need to be in 10 years and blah, blah, blah. Do you think that is him setting your expectations? Because, you know, usually when you're like teaching someone, you could already see potential, right? Mm-hmm. It's easy. But then since he's grumpy, I don't think his specialty is motivational.
No, I wouldn't say that that's where he should go as a next career choice. Motivational speaking.
But I feel like that is something that people need, like a push. He probably wasn't intentional, but it was something that needed to be said, I guess, huh?
Absolutely. Whether he knew he was doing me a favor or not, that's why I always say it's the best piece of advice that I received, because it caused me to look inside and become internally motivated. And I didn't set up my whole career just to prove that person wrong, but it was the impetus for me to look and say, okay, well, what do I want? Because I was just kind of floating along in culinary school, like, oh, I'm going to go and cook and it's going to be great. And that moment was when I really said, wait a minute, what are my options? How far could I really go with this? And it took me far.
That's good. I feel like for me, not to bring my personal life in, but bring
it on.
just going through all my entire life, everyone has been so supportive, and my parents are like, you can do it. What, you don't want to go to school? Yeah, go for it. And, you know, it's always been kind of like emotionally easy for me that I feel like I needed that chef in my life.
I'm sure that chef has probably shown up in your life in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not in that same way, but you are a successful individual. So there's got to have been a nudge somewhere. My husband tells me that I'm that nudge. So your wife probably has contributed.
I was just going to say that when I started my own business, that's where all the chefs came in. Now there's too many chefs in the kitchen.
Everyone seems to have super strong opinions about your business, right? Like, I was like, I thought this was my business. No.
I actually, in general, like especially now, social media, everyone has an input. So
yes. That is so true.
So I'm curious now how you got into specializing in websites. Is it because, like it's the most core basic thing that you need, or is there another reason for it?
So website, I specialize in all things, which is like an oxymoron, I know, right? But I specialize in helping people build a marketing funnel. So the marketing funnel, you have a way to attract people at the top, you build relationships here in the middle, and then you close at the end. And a website is one of the larger components, one of the most visible components to building a marketing funnel. So I got into websites once I became a StoryBrand certified guide. So I was doing them before, but I was part of the problem. I'm a little embarrassed to say. I was creating websites that were pretty pictures that might have had some cool little movement going on, but they were really just like online brochures. They weren't causing action in the way that the websites that we design now do. Now they're designed to convert because they use the StoryBrand SB7 framework. StoryBrand is based off of a book by a man named Donald Miller. The book is called Building a StoryBrand. If you haven't read it, go pick up a copy. Gonna change your life. Once I read it, it did change mine. I read it and I said, I need to figure out how I can bring this to all of my clients. And I went and spent some money and got certified. And that framework teaches you how to go through a website like a story, like the most captivating story. So when someone is on your website, they go, ooh, that's me. Ooh, I bet that they could guide me through my problem. So think of like your favorite. The movie that I watched most recently was actually Treasure Planet, which is a Disney movie, animated Disney movie.
I love that.
I love that movie. It's actually a really good movie, but I don't know if a lot of people have seen that one. So let's use the one that more people have. Let's use Harry Potter, right? That's a big hit. Harry Potter starts off with, you see what normal looks like, and then immediately there is a problem, right? Harry, Lord Voldemort, kills Harry's parents. Harry has a scar, something's up, and then he goes and lives with horrible relatives, right? And you see him then dealing, jumps forward, you see his life is horrible, and then a guide comes in. He has several guides throughout the entire book on movies of Harry Potter, whether it's Hagrid or Dumbledore or Hermione, they all are guiding him because they're experts in something, and he's the hero going along this journey. And he has other issues, and there's villains, and then eventually he lands in the land of success. And the whole way, I mean, especially if like you're me, we've been to Harry Potter World in Universal Studios, like probably more times than I'd like to admit. Actually, there's like, we dress up, it's a whole thing. So if you're like me and you're really into Harry Potter, you were captivated with the books and the movies all the way through because it constantly is positioning a problem and solving the problem. You can have that same emotional reaction using the copy and the layout of your website. Your website doesn't have to just be a brochure. And by using that narrative framework of the hero's journey, you're able to nudge more towards the sale. So most websites, especially in the wedding industry, and I review a lot of websites for free, so I've seen hundreds of websites. Wedding websites usually start off with, we plan exquisite weddings for the happiest couple and the happiest day of your life. And it's like, what? Like, it means absolutely nothing, right? Instead, you really want to start off with the number one marketing message that you are not using. I don't even know you, lovely listener, but I know that you're not using it. And that number one marketing message is the problem of your customer. Just like how Harry Potter started off the movie with, ooh, there's a problem. Parents die, scar on forehead. That's the problem. And now you're engaged to try to figure out what the solution is. That's how you need to start your website. So you might start off with a question. If your ideal customer is a member of the LGBTQ community, you might start off with your website with, don't you hate it when planners just assume that you want a bright, big rainbow wedding just because you're a member of the LGBTQ community? Wouldn't it be nice if someone understood your personal style and how this wedding symbolizes your love regardless of who you're getting married to, because love is love? That type of questioning starts off with, oh, well, that is the problem that I'm feeling. And oh, they get me. It combines empathy and problem solving. So I got into website design because I wanted to be able to take people through that step and those stages on their website so that their websites actually help them make money as opposed to just being pretty pictures. That happens really easily. We like pretty things in this industry, right? Like, I love a beautifully plated dish. I love some great decor and the newest rentals and beautiful photography. But there needs to be substance behind that actually causes action. And that's why websites need to be more than just pretty pictures, and how I started doing it.
You're so right. Because I feel like when it comes to like social media, for example, it's just all pretty pictures, right? So you're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook, and your work just gets drowned out from all of this noise, right? And you're right. The taking them through a journey, and I guess are you saying that you're recognizing that you're trying to solve a problem for?
Yes. And the biggest thing is that your job is to be able to have your visitor recognize that you're trying to solve their problem and that it's a specific problem that you're trying to solve for them. So that's why, like, I gave that example of super generic website text. If I land on that website, I mean, yeah, I might buy from you, maybe. But if you hone in on exactly who you are solving the problem for, then you're able to really dig deep and understand what their pain points are. So when they land on your website, it's almost a no-brainer. They're like, oh, this website was created just for me, just for people like me. You might be a wedding planner, but you don't need to plan weddings for everyone. You might be a photographer. You don't need to shoot every single wedding of every single type. One, you might not even like to do that. And two, it'll take you out of the center of your craft. So the results might not even be as good as if you niche down to what you truly love to do and the people that you love to work with.
So now that we're talking about that, in my head, I'm already like, there's so many things that I need to do in my website. We've been in business. This is our 10th year. We're approaching our 10th year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And our website has always been pretty pictures or phrases like, we can't wait to film your wedding and blah, blah, blah. But now I changed the front page being the blogs, the most current blog posts where, you know, like how to give a wedding speech and blah, blah, blah. My question is, for someone who has gone through so many rebrands and so many, or starting out, what's the most important thing that we need to do first?
I would start with your headline. So the piece of your website that people see before they scroll down is called above the fold. It's taken from old newspaper language where you literally had to fold it, right? Everything above the fold is the most important real estate on your website because website visitors are lazy and they don't like to pay attention for long periods of time. So you have about 3 to 7 seconds when someone lands on your website to grab their attention and to show them that they're in the right place and that you understand the problem and that you are the person to solve it for them. So at the way that I like to construct the tops of websites is up top left. I usually like to have the person's logo or brand name. And because people read things in a Z formation. So the top left is the logo and the brand name. The top right is your money box, your cash register. What that looks like is a button that is clearly distinct that says, get a quote, schedule a call, book now. It doesn't say contact us. It doesn't say something cute and clever like, let's get jazzy. Nothing like that, right? It's very clear because when you confuse, you lose profits. So you want to be clear, not clever or cute when it comes time to asking for money. And by putting that in the second place that people look, what you're doing is you're really setting up your website visitors to say, this is a relationship. I want to have a relationship with you, but it is a transactional relationship. We can be BFFs as long as you pay me for my services. By putting that there, it sets already a little bit of a signal that this is not for you, tire kicker. You are going to have to pay me. I'm asking you to take action. So you go from top left, top right, then you go across the middle. Across the middle, I like to have a full bleed image or a video behind of success, whatever success looks like for your client. So success could be pictures of an event. It could be some videos of happy, smiling people. What you're trying to do is to have them instantly know what you do and know that people that work with you are happy about it. That's what that image does. You can have a scrolling images roll through on the top, but keep the words stationary because scrolling words are too confusing for people. Again, short attention spans, you only got 3 to 7 seconds, right? The words right in the middle of your website need to say things that's where your headline goes. It's short, less than a sentence, right? Your main headline, and it should say who you are talking to and what you do. So ours say, we help wedding catering and event professionals get and keep a consistent stream of clients. That's why you're there. If you were a wedding catering and event professional and you wanted money, you're like, oh, I'm probably in the right place, right? And it says it big and bold. And then I have a subhead that talks about that we do it through marketing, education, strategy, and tools. So it gets a little bit more into it, but that subhead is still only like 1 or 2 lines. And then right under that again, I have 2 buttons. One is the call to action. Again, that's the schedule a call, get a quote. And that button looks exactly the same as the one that you had on the top right. Next to that button, we have what's called a transitional call to action button. That button is all about how you're grabbing people onto your email list. If you're not building an email list, this is not what this particular show is about, but I highly encourage you to do it. It's one of my number 1 ways of building relationships and closing sales. So that button would say, download the guide, take the quiz, watch the video series, whatever free piece of information you're giving away in exchange for an email address. And then as you go down, then you start with adding in some of the values that you add, the problem, testimonials, and you build upon that story. But if you're going to change anything, I recommend changing the header, because that's the most important real estate and where you will get the biggest bang for your buck.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I just realized what I was doing wrong, and this is, wow. This is
okay,
good.
well, now you got to share. Well, what were you doing wrong?
Oh, I didn't want to put words on the website anymore, because the website right now, it starts with like a montage video, which is like the background, so there's no music or anything, but you can see like a montage. And the bottom, right below that are the blog posts. That's it. But I have a guide that people can download, and then I capture their email. So it works, but at the same time, you're right. Like, they don't know what they're gonna expect. The middle of the page is the blog post. Like right now, our most recent one is how to make a speech on your 50th wedding anniversary. Because I just did a 50th wedding anniversary, and so
that's a good topic.
Yeah, thank you. So try to update that every so often, just so I feel like our website, I'm turning it into, since I have a separate podcast called How to Wedding, and it's for wedding planning and SoCal inspired wedding planning. That's in the website. So when they go to the website, they're gonna see our credentials first, before our reel. Because I want to help them first before I sell it to them.
Absolutely.
But I would love to show you my website.
I would love to see it. I mean, you can, I'll just go and take a look.
Yeah.
Just you do free website reviews. It's at flourishmarketing.co/website-review. And you can pop it in there. And it'll get added to the queue.
I'm going to type that down. But
yes.
So
flourishmarketing.co/website-review.
Website-review. Oh my gosh.
Then I'll take a look at it.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. So now that we talked about the keys to having like a very effective front page, that's front page, right? Mm-hmm. So what are the top mistakes that people make that's costing them a lot of money when it comes to their website? But before you even think about what your answer is, I'd love to quickly thank our friends from HoneyBook. HoneyBook is a CRM, which stands for Customer Relationship Management System, and that software helps us manage and organize our customers' data. Clients always comment on how fast we respond to their inquiries. Since HoneyBook is one of the only small business CRMs that has an app, we get an alert every time someone fills out our contact form. And then we are able to send them a brochure right away. It all boils down to the customer experience. The more you make it easy for them, the more comfortable they will be in handing you their money. By eliminating that part of your business, you get to have your life back. And your clients will get the experience that they deserve. Win-win. So if you use my referral link, you'll get 50% off on your first year. That's not all. I really want you to succeed, so once you become a member through us, you'll be getting a 30-minute phone call to answer your questions about anything, your business or HoneyBook. Just click on the links in the show notes. I'm so sorry. What was your answer to my question?
One, you don't ask for a sale. It's hard to figure out how to work with you. Contact us doesn't count. You need to have that cash register button. Two, I don't know what you do. So we often suffer from the curse of knowledge because we've been doing what we've been doing for so long, and we assume that the name or the title lets people know what problem that we solve. And it really doesn't. You need to be very explicit. We are a full service wedding planning company. We are an Italian catering company. We shoot wedding videos. You need to talk about that very clearly on your website because people aren't going to spend the brain cells for it. Another thing that's costing people money is that they don't have the process for working with you. That goes back in line with what is the curse of knowledge, right? You've been doing what you do for years. You know exactly. You book the client, they get the contract, you do the work, they're happy, they give you a great testimonial, referral, whatever it is, whatever your process really looks like. But they don't know that. Hopefully they're getting married once or maybe twice, right? They don't do this on a regular basis if you're just doing weddings, right? They don't hire wedding videographers every day. So it's a little bit of a daunting task. So by putting a simple 1, 2, 3 step way of engaging with you, first, click get a quote. When you do that, this is what happens. Second, you book with us. We have a clear, transparent contract, and we'll set up a plan for you. And third, you have the best stinking wedding video you will ever see. Social ready. Like, that is what you put. And so people are like, oh, it's so easy. There's a lot of subsets underneath that. But by saying, oh, I can follow it, you've just clarified the process, which means that you're closer to that sale. You lose sales when you confuse people. That brings me to the next point. You know that big old block of text that's like this long in the middle of your website and the font is like this small? No one's reading that. It could be literal, like Pulitzer worthy content. No one's reading it. People scan websites. They don't read websites. So if you don't have headers down your website that you can read without reading anything else and know what you do, what problem you solve, who you solve it for, and what they should do about it, then your website's not going to be effective. So you can have smaller chunks of text underneath very large and blatant headers. We all design websites for grown adults, but we sometimes, I think, give grown adults too much credit. Like, we're like, oh, well, they're educated, they got money to spend, they're good. Yes, all of that is true, but talk to them with headers and big block text like you would in like a kindergarten classroom, right? Put the most apparent thing out there first, and then when they're interested, they'll take notice. The next thing that people do is they do not have enough information on their homepage. This goes back to the laziness factor that we've already touched. People are not going to click through. They will eventually, but if they don't have enough reason to click through, they're not going to. You need to give the full story on your homepage of what you do, who you solve for, how to work with you, how to book with you. And then that lovely 3-paragraph about section, you can still have a page for that, but include it in your footer. The next thing, I don't even know how many we're at. This is my last one.
I think we're at 6.
Okay. The next thing is that you need to minimize distractions. So that I've seen like people have like double menus or triple menus at the top. Where it's like, I can make all these selections on where I want to go on this website. And what you think you're doing is you're coming from a place of service, making it easy for them to navigate wherever they want to click. What you're actually doing is overwhelming people. Take all that stuff and put it in your footer. Unless it is a buy now button or a transitional call to action button or something that is like super critical for them to know when they first land on your website, move it to your footer. And that includes your social media icons. Move your social media icons to your footer. If you have them at the top, what you're saying is, oh, you're here, but I want you to go somewhere where you actually can't spend money with me. So you want them, once they're on your website, to stay on your website. The goal of your social media is to build the relationship so that they come to your website and buy from you, not for you to then just become social media famous, because I don't know about you, but my water company doesn't take social media followers as payment. So you want to make sure that you have the dollars in the bank account, and they do that on your website. Okay, I'm out. I promise that was the last one.
So yeah, we got like 7. That's good.
As you can tell, I really am passionate about website layout.
You don't even have to read anything. That's crazy. So now that I'm just trying to like process all of this, because
sorry,
you know it's just I think it's more of the excitement, especially for me. Like a lot of wedding business owners, I'm pretty sure they just designed their own website, right? So at least for me, I'm getting a little overwhelmed, but more the excitement is more kicking in more than
Good.
yeah. So
Good. One of the things I left, and this is like, spoiler alert, if you download this, you will end up on my email list, but it is a good guide because I do have a website checklist for you to go through. So you can look at your website and check off the things that I mentioned and more. So if you go to flourishmarketing.co/freebies, there's a bunch of freebies on there. And one of them is a website checklist. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, then everyone's probably feeling overwhelmed, and that you can go step by step on that checklist. It's probably helpful.
Okay, that's cool. I really appreciate you doing that too. Oh, now that I asked you all of the mistakes and we already talked about are there any other ways to highly convert with the website, or that's it, right? You pretty much talked about all of them.
I don't know if I've talked about all of it, but that's good for now.
Okay,
right there.
So how important is your website when it comes to, because they always say that your website is your business card. Like you direct people to your website first more than anything. And since you're a marketing expert as well, how should people use their website now when it comes to current events? Because I feel like I was talking to you earlier about this, and I feel like when it comes to current events, social media is when you use addressing the COVID, the pandemic, and BLM, Black Lives Matter, and Pride. We're recording this in June, so it's Pride Month. So how do you address that, and how do you use your website for it?
I've seen a range. So similarly to how people have COVID resources, you might have had a banner, you might have had a button, or you added a pop-up that slided up or was a full page pop-up. You can do the same thing for the support of Black Lives Matter movement or Pride. A lot of times for Pride, people might not change their logo, but encircle their logo with a rainbow. So right now on your website, if you wanted to change your website, it would be like kind of funky, but cool. You might have a badge at the top that, encircles your logo in a rainbow. You might then have a link for COVID resources, and then you might have a banner right underneath it that says, this is how we are standing in solidarity with the Black community. So you can add touches that kind of pop up and move around, because a website by nature is a dynamic thing. One of the things that people forget about websites is that it should not be set it and forget it. If it is set and forgotten about, conjugate my verbs, it was set and forgotten about, you can kind of tell, right? It starts looking stale or stagnant, or especially if you use WordPress, your plugins might break and stuff just looks funky, right? So you should be refreshing content on your homepage and pictures on your homepage periodically anyways. So having that be part of the timely discussion makes a lot of sense. However, I say this about any marketing, whether it's on social media, whether it's a website change, don't just change the thing and say the message. You have to have a guiding principle behind it. Because, right, especially now that cancel culture is becoming a big thing, right? Oh, they didn't really mean that message. Cancel Wendy's, cancel, who was the last one I saw? Hobby Lobby or whoever, cancel them. And we're boycotting them because they didn't back up their statement. So before you change anything on your website or your social media, you need to really understand, what do I stand for? When I link them to something, is it a systematic process that we're doing internally to make change? Is it to donate somewhere? What are we really doing? And then make that change. And that goes across all messaging platforms.
Okay. Yeah, it was tough. I was telling you earlier, when everything happened, everyone had their own opinion about it, and there are opinions that we can address. There are topics that we shouldn't first. We didn't know what to do. And Now, how do you feel about linking? I'm sure a lot of people do this too, like linking your Instagram to your website. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that? And which part of the website should the social media feed be in?
Got it. So on your website, it needs to be in your footer, not in your header. You can even on the bottom have like a scroll of your actual feed if you post regularly. Regularly doesn't need to be every day. I encourage daily posting. It could be a couple times a week, but if you haven't posted for 2 months, don't put that feed on the bottom. So again, this goes back to those are what everyone else sees, but you need to get your house in order first. Before you fix that, you need to go back and say, okay, do I have someone on my team, or am I going to really make an effort to put together a strategy of what I'm going to post every day? Then you can put that on the bottom of your website. Your website is incredibly important, but your Instagram bio is also important because that is homepage part 2 is really how people use it and think about it. That link is incredibly important. When you link to that, the pages that you link back to need to make sense for your posts. I am constantly posting about, well, check out this press thing I did, or here's a resource on that. And, well, I can't be changing that one link all the time. So I have a couple of different accounts, but I use Linktree or tap.bio, so that I can have multiple things that people can see when they land on my bio and multiple links. I also recommend, if you're going to be talking about things on your website, which you should be, you post a blog, for example, like you're saying you're posting a blog, then you're going to post about that on social media, and in your social media bio, it should have a link to that blog post. And you should post probably about that same blog post using different language a couple of times, because people need to see that message a couple of times. You work that into your content strategy and you schedule those posts in advance. I like to use later.com to schedule posts. There's also Hootsuite, which is a great one. Hootsuite I particularly enjoy because later.com doesn't include LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is starting to really we're getting close. I was dating LinkedIn for a little while. I'm probably in a more serious relationship with LinkedIn now than I have been before, because their algorithm actually seems to be getting more engagement than Facebook and Instagram. Especially because Facebook and Instagram are heavily rely on the ads model. I've been testing out both. I'm not an expert in LinkedIn or LinkedIn ads yet, but I have seen success with them rather quickly. And I really like how you can target. You can target on Facebook and Instagram, but you can target kind of differently on LinkedIn. And people are like, oh, but LinkedIn is for professionals. And I always well, don't your couples work, right? Don't they? They have jobs, right? So you can still target them on LinkedIn as well. So long story short, put your Instagram stuff in your footer, have a plan for it before you do, and make sure that you are linking to specific pages in your LinkedIn bio. Okay.
Well, now that you brought LinkedIn to the conversation, I know this isn't about websites, but you're a marketing expert, and I feel like I need to ask you this because for the past few months, I'm on social media. I'm friends with a lot of vendors in my area and, from all over the U.S. And the last few months have been a revelation of the personality of people. Like, you open your social media at 7 in the morning. I'm like, what? What is she saying? So what's your advice to people who don't use LinkedIn for work?
So are you saying they use it for other things, or you're saying you want to use LinkedIn for work?
Let me rephrase it. So
I was I'm not going to step my foot into something stinky. You don't have to clarify that.
What's your advice to people who use social media for work, but also their personal life? And, they post a lot of different links and that, you know what I'm talking about. That might not be appropriate. That might not be appropriate for their business.
Yeah.
Like, what's your, because I feel like they should just be on LinkedIn and then leave your personal stuff personal. But now it's just like an open book.
So, but it's not just leave it on LinkedIn. So I have LinkedIn, but then I also have a Facebook business pages. I have a Facebook business page for Flourish Marketing, a Facebook business page for Aleya Harris, and a Facebook business page for the Social Media Pantry. So, and then I have different strategies for what I post on each, which is relevant to what I want to be known for, what I want those brands to be known for. Now, there are people that send me Facebook friend requests, and I have my Facebook page pretty locked down. You can see that it's me. You can see the links to my professional pages. Publicly, you can't really see my posts. And I decline a lot of friend requests because my personal page is actually for people who I know. You might be in the event industry. So I have friends that are members of NACE, and we are actually friends in real life. Like, I could call them up. That's different. So, and then on there, I, might be more relaxed, but I still also keep in mind that anywhere on social media is a public forum, and whatever you post anywhere can still be tied back to you and your business. So I grew up when I was on Facebook when it was just for colleges, right? And you used it, and you was like, any, self-respecting girl in college used it like the FBI to figure out who her crush was really dating and all of that stuff, right? Because everyone posted everything. And as it evolved, some people didn't evolve with it. And you have to evolve with the platform. It is no longer as personable and as intimate as it once was. And you have to treat it as such. It's not a personal therapy session, even on your personal page. If you want to talk to somebody, form a Facebook group that's closed and private that people can't share messages out from, right? Or call up someone, or send them a private message. And still, obviously anything that you write in writing is still shareable, and there's also screenshots. So be careful still what you say. But if you are a business owner, no public forum is non-business 100%. That doesn't mean on my personal page I'm constantly talking about my business. I'll post funny memes, I'll post pictures of myself as a kid, vacation photos, but I also am fully aware that at any point in time that could affect my revenue stream, which I'm quite fond of. So I don't want to do anything that would jeopardize that. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Well,
okay.
The reason why I ask that is because, we're talking about story brand and storytelling. So when you say story brand on your website, are you saying that this is the story of the customer? You being the guide going through the journey, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That is absolutely right. Your website should not be about you. Your website should be about your customer and their problem and how you can help them solve it. And in the end, it's not how you are the hero coming in to save the day. It's how you're guiding them to solve their problems. But at the end of the day, they're the ones being congratulated for the most beautiful wedding anybody's ever seen. They're not saying, oh, well, your planner must be great. No, it's their wedding, right? It's their hero moment. It's their time to shine.
Okay.
That's the way to do it.
Very clear. I like that. The reason why I asked the whole personal thing on social media is when you bring in your story, because you kind of need to bring in your story into your website, right? How far should you go? Like, how much of your story should be in the website?
I relate it to what I sell and to what I do and to what I think will build a connection. So I have flourishmarketing.co, but there's a page on flourishmarketing.co that's flourishmarketing.co/Aleya, right? It's about me. And so on there, you'll like book me for speaking, all that stuff. But then I could talk about how I really like a good hot stone massage. And my husband Brand is my favorite person ever. And I love Japanese whiskey and mac and cheese, hopefully with lobster, only really if it's baked, not like what these new rinky-dink people are calling mac and cheese with like pasta. Then they pour cheese sauce on it and they serve it to you and they think that's cool. That's offensive. I digress. But I chose those things because they can't be used against me. So I like Japanese whiskey. Yeah, everyone should. Right. And they also help me form connections. One of the things, before I was married, I wanted to be married, right? But I realized that being single as a woman, I don't know if any other woman has ever experienced this, and this probably has something to do with the patriarchy. We can have a whole nother podcast episode about that. But as a single woman, I didn't feel as respected as a married woman. Now that I'm married, and I've been married, we got married November 2017, in obviously the wedding of the century. Every person says that about their wedding. Since I've been married, I have noticed that people interact with me differently, and there's a different respect that came from that. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to throw my husband on my website. I'm a chef and I talk to food people. I'm going to show the food that I like on my website. I also want to show that I'm human. And I really enjoy personal growth, and that's just the core of me. So I threw that on my website. And yes, I really do like a hot stone massage, and I really do miss my massage therapist, Jared. If you're out there, hopefully I'll see you soon. So it's those things, but none of that can be taken or twisted. None of that makes me too far to the right or too far to the left where people can't relate to me. I choose something that you can say, oh, she's solved my problem, and I could probably talk to her about food or whiskey or massage or whatever. That's those are the kind of boundaries that at least I set when I'm trying to humanize myself, because I also have a tendency of I had to do it on purpose because I was so into, no, I'm going to solve your problem this time. I'm going to do it A, B, C, D, D. And then I read my own website and I was like, well, that sounds like super mechanical. I don't want to be like that. And that's not me. It needed to reflect my personality.
You sprinkle in a little bit of personality, and that's how I guess that's how you attract the clients you want. Exactly.
And I tend to attract clients that I love I don't have any clients that I don't love working with, because again, it goes back to what I was saying in the very beginning about my superhero origin story. I found that I am best when I come from the place I have the most joy, and the place where I feel the best. And that's what I can give to the world, the place where I feel like I'm truly giving of my true self. And when you do that, people recognize that and gravitate towards it. And the people that recognize it are the people that you want to hang out with anyways.
And that's how I guess, since this topic is websites that convert even during a crisis, when you put your opinions on social media, like address like the issues, then clients will also gravitate towards you, right? There's like-minded people.
Absolutely. And one of the things, people are like, well, I'm scared to talk about issues, or I'm scared to talk about this and that. I might lose clients. I might not have vendors not want to work with me. And I say, well, why would you want to hang out with those people anyways?
Exactly.
Right? Yes, you might lose people. Yeah, I email out my email list, and, email marketing is a big deal for me. And I'm like, I wonder how many people are unsubscribed. And then I got petty. I'm not going to lie. I looked at who unsubscribed. And I was like, let's see what state you from. I did get a little petty. But truthfully, I didn't have that many people unsubscribe, but I did. When I was starting to send out messages supporting the Black community, supporting the LGBTQ community, that's not the place where everyone is at. And hopefully we can hope that they get to a place where they recognize the beauty in all humanity, but not everybody is there. But if you are there, don't let that deter you from being an ally to people who really need your voice. People need to have non-marginalized groups speak. Read that as white people. So when white people talk in forums on their Facebook pages, to their email list, using their podcast, using their platforms, they're able to reach audiences that traditionally marginalized groups are not able to reach, because those people wouldn't even follow me on Instagram. Those people wouldn't even open my email. Even if I was on, the biggest TV show or the biggest news channel, they might just switch the channel because they're not interested in hearing from a message from someone that looks like me, but they might hear it from you. And if you're really about that life, which I hope that you are, then now's the time to shake off some of that fear and use your platform to be able to make true change. And your website can be that platform. Your social media can be that platform. It matters what you say, and it will matter to the longevity of your business because you don't want to be part of the people that get canceled.
Man, that's the best way to end this interview. That's amazing. I was just gonna say that I really hope that people start changing their minds about these things, because it's just, more than anything, it's really heartbreaking, especially the people I call friends and people I look up to. People, I don't know if it's cabin fever or just people are losing their minds, and it's nuts. So
yeah.
I really hope that this year would end really well for everyone.
Yes, me too. I mean, we all could use a win, right?
Yeah.
Am I right? I could just, if someone wants to just be like, you know what? Today's ice cream day. That's all we're all going to do today. We're not going to feel guilty about it. We're going to put sweatpants on. I'd be so over it. I just need something to be like, you know what? Today is a day that I didn't have to worry about the world's issues, and we all have a win. But we create those on our own terms, right? Creating wins for ourselves and for each other, which is hopefully what everyone is trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's because of people like you that I still have faith in humanity. Like you don't lose it on social media. You still keep your composure. You still try to help people, even though, all of the situations are really weird. So I really thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
If there's one thing that you would want the listener to take away from this interview about their website or about their marketing, what is it? If there's anything else that you want to say.
If there's anything at all, now that is just way too open-ended. I'm going to stick on topic.
Okay.
You need to understand yourself, who you are in your business before you write any word that is visible publicly. Your website is not your personal scratch paper. Your website is the end result of a lot of work where you deciding who you are, what problem you solve, who do you solve it for, and what do you stand for. Once you decide that, then start crafting your message. Then be thoughtful about the images that you choose. Then you'll be able to audit the social media posts and say, well, why do I have these pictures? And who am I talking to? And am I solving problems? And you'll be so much more clear once you start from a centered place. That would be the number one takeaway. The website is not the first step. It's actually many steps down the road after you develop the strategy and get centered.
Beautiful. I know that people who are listening and watching already have learned a lot. Some would probably left a few minutes ago because they're already working on their website.
I hope so.
But I thank you also, because I've always, so when I started doing my business, I realized that I loved filming weddings. Don't get me wrong, but I realized that I love cooking. We have another one. It's crazy. I patterned my production system with cooking, like in the kitchen. Someone cuts the vegetables. Someone's making this. Someone's that. So I've always wanted to do that, and if this pandemic goes on and we need to move on to other things, I'm probably going to be a chef, and I want to put that on my website.
Please do. Oh man, I'm there for all of that.
And to those who are listening, I would love it if you tell them how to reach you and if they have any questions.
Oh, for sure. I know I've already dropped in a couple of URLs, but you can email my team and I. Probably the fastest way is to email straight to my client concierge at hello@flourishmarketing.co. You can also visit me at flourishmarketing.co and learn more about what we do. I would also love to see you on Instagram at Aleya Harris and at flourishmarketing.co. And if you're particularly interested in social media, there is at the social media pantry.
Cool. Well, Aleya, thank you so much for this. I really hope that we get to meet in person soon.
Yes.
And with masks on.
Of course, 6 feet apart.
But I really thank you for enlightening us. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun, and I hope that everyone gets a lot out of it.
Definitely. Thank you. All the best to you.
Thank you. You too.
That's the end of another great episode. I hope you picked something up from our guest. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out by emailing me at weddingbossness@gmail.com. If you're looking for bite-sized episodes that have a little bit more of straight-up information about running your wedding business, the Wedding Bossness YouTube channel just got a facelift, and now it doesn't only have the video interviews from the podcasts, it also has shorter, informative, educational videos to help you, hopefully, answer your questions about your business. And they're all free. No catch. I know there's so much information that was provided today, so be sure to check out the show notes for the links down below. Special thanks to our guest for today, and don't forget to visit their site after this episode. Thanks for listening. Until we meet again.